Quilty is brought to you by
APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing.
Havel's Sewing. When you need to cut it close, choose Havel's.
Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics.
You may not have gotten to it yet if you are a beginner, but a lot of times if you see a quilt that you love that's maybe got a couple different blocks in it, you will find that secondary blocks are forming. Because when you start putting one block next to another block and then you keep repeating that along, sometimes the corners of all of your blocks come together making something else. Like you get a secondary block is what we call them. So I brought my little tablet here, and the quilt that we're going to be looking at today is called Heart of the Ocean, and it's in Quilty magazine, and we can put which issue it'll be in. I'm going to turn my tablet actually so we can see this the proper way. Okay, isn't it fun to use these? So what I'm talking about here is this big thing here. We're going to look at the block itself. This is this big block. This quilt is made up of, 12 of these very large Heart of the Ocean blocks, okay? It's a beautiful quilt. The block is big, and it's a little more complex, you know. It takes a lot of different pieces, so be patient with yourself if you're tackling this quilt. It's like a level 2, maybe even a level 3 beginner quilt, but you can do it. It's just 1/4 inch seams. That's all it is. So as you put these 12 blocks together, oh, look at this. There's this shape, and this shape, and this shape in between these blocks. This is not a special, you don't create this block. You create, well, let's take a look. You create this block. And because the corners are what they are, those inner secondary stars form automatically once you start laying it up on your design wall, okay? So we have this block here, and I'm gonna bring in another one and show you kind of how this goes, okay? And let's pull, I'm gonna focus on this corner, guys. So I'm gonna pull this in. They're huge blocks, so we had to get creative about how to teach this. But you see, when you put this together like this, and this is just 2 of them, to have 4 of them, I mean, my goodness, we'd need the Love of Quilting set. The Love of Quilty. Hey, that's an interesting idea. Love of Quilting meets Quilty. Love of Quilty. You heard it here first. Okay, so as you can see, the big block and the big block, okay? When they come together, shunk, you start to get this other shape. Now, what I thought I would do, I'm gonna bring this paper in. I mean, I'm telling you, these blocks are enormous. So what I'm gonna do is pop this in here. So I have to tape a bunch of things together. Sometimes, you know, quilting, when I've been drafting patterns and when I've been making different quilts, I mean, you really have to get creative. You have to pull out the butcher paper, and if you're drafting things, you have to kind of get creative with how you see it. And now, I wouldn't need to draft on this quilt. I'm just illustrating to you how this other part will form. And I'm just gonna sketch it out so you can kind of see it. And you can certainly see it on the pattern. You can see it when you're reading a magazine or a book with a quilt pattern in it. I don't know if you'll ever not get a pattern with a flat shot of the quilt. That's when they hang the quilt up on a wall and they take a picture of it flat so you can see the finished product, okay? So that will always be available to you too. So pretty quickly, because I wanna show you just how this other part starts to take shape, okay? So this is just freehand, just so you can see, because I mean, we couldn't get it all in the shot. These things are so large. Okay, so that's bisected there, and that's bisected there, and then you see, this is part of your little guy, and then we've got, yep, we've got those guys there. And these guys here. And this, and I think once I color it in just a little bit, you're really going to see. Let's see, and that's like that, and that's like that, okay? So if I show you this, here's your secondary block. Crew, are you seeing what I'm doing? Is this clear? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So you get this second shape, okay, as you're making your quilt. And it really happens automatically because these corners are just, this sort of secondary star is just the corners of your other huge blocks that come together, okay? So the last thing I want to show you is how important it is to have a design wall, because as you can see, trying to do this on a table is pretty difficult. So I'm going to do a little acrobatics, and I've got a design wall, and you've seen this before. This is a Fons and Porter product, and it's this felt wall. It's got a grid on the back. It's printed like from the back so that the grid lines show up, and it's got these hooks in it. You can tack it up to your wall. You can, take it to the church basement or wherever you're working and fold it up when you leave, and you don't have to install some fancy wall in your house. I'm just going to toss. I told you acrobatics, but it'll work for what we're doing. Okay, so just give us a little bit of a sticky surface. So you can imagine if this went all the way across, then what we're going to be doing is, you get a block done, you put it up on the design wall, okay? Then, because you have to make sure that you're matching up all these secondary stars, I mean, you certainly could make them all different like that, but you want to make that a choice, and I'm not sure I'd do that. I'd keep them all consistent, okay? So with a design wall, you really get to see, because you get to step back and see how these things are coming together, okay? So get yourself a design wall and take a chance on a block that's a little bit more involved. This one takes longer, but the effect is stunning. And we use some really cute fabric from Moda in this. I think it's Bonnie and Camille, I think so. And it's really, really darling. So channel your inner quilter and get started. Thanks, bye.
Quilty is brought to you by
APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil, Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing.
Havel's Sewing. When you need to cut it close, choose Havel's.
Moda, make something quilty with Moda fabrics.